Property crimes are often the result of opportunity. You can take action to help reduce crime by starting a Neighborhood Watch program. Neighborhood Watch serves as a guide for more eyes and ears in your neighborhood. Contact the Marana Police Department Community Resource Unit at 520-382-2055 for more information.
Enjoy live music in Marana every third Thursday in the fall and spring at the beautiful Marana Municipal Complex Courtyard from 5 to 7 p.m. With theme nights, food trucks, and attractions, this free concert truly is a family-friendly experience. Visit maranaaz.gov/events for the complete schedule.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with the Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry, and I am your host, and today we're talking Ina and Thornydale. So apparently we got some residents in our community that are a little bit concerned about the area, the traffic congestion, increases in crime, or at least the appearance of some of those things. So we have a couple of very special guests, return guests, actually. Both of them have been on the show before. We have our police chief and we have our public works director. Gentlemen, why don't you introduce yourself, remind our listeners who you are and what you do for the town.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Pridgett. I'm the chief of police for about 3 months here in the town of Marana.
So hi, everybody. Fausto Burruel. I'm the director of public works for a year and a half now.
All right. So fairly new in the positions, but been with the town for quite a while. Both of you. Jeff grew up in the town, obviously. Grew up in the police department. First ever. We talked about this on a show. This isn't a rerun of the show that we did with you. First homegrown police chief in the town of Marana.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
But that was a softball episode, Jeff. Now we're going to get to the hard-hitting questions, and you're going to be on the hot seat. But first, I'm going to put Fausto on the hot seat.
Of course.
Yeah, we'll let you get you warmed up a little bit to it first, Jeff, by letting Fausto answer some tough questions. So we had a resident, and it's not a resident of the town proper, but lived just outside of the town boundaries in that Ina and Thornydale area. And they're really a little bit concerned about what's going on in that area relative to traffic congestion, additional construction with new apartments going up in that area. And so, what can you tell me? So here's kind of the it's about a paragraph long, so I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, but in essence, it's talking about backups of traffic, vehicles blocking the intersections, cars can't turn onto the road because there's no room. I've got a plan ahead to get anywhere in that area, and quite honestly, I avoid just driving through that intersection as much as possible. Any plans to fix this?
So yeah, Terry, I'll start off with saying, it's a challenging condition. There's construction going on I-10. They're widening between Ruthroff and Ina, and as part of that, they've taken out a major intersection. Orange Grove does not have a connection to I-10. There is an exit as you're headed westbound that you can utilize that, but any traffic wanting to get on I-10 to go towards Tucson from that area has to navigate either south or either north to go to Ina or find a different direction to go. So that's what we're seeing.
It's tough to find a avenue to that area from the south. I mean, you've got to go quite a ways south to come back up north, right? Correct.
Yeah. That was a very challenging option. So obviously, Ina is the nearest option to take, and unfortunately, it's adding a lot of traffic to our roadways, to the surface roadways.
So this, I mean, we can anticipate this is going to be a rough go for a while here yet.
The project's anticipated to go on at least another year. I don't have the exact date. I know about mid-25, calendar year 25. So, yeah, it's going to be under that condition for a while. That being said, our traffic team has done just about everything they can to coordinate the signals, to establish timings that are going to help operate as best as possible. but it's just the traffic volumes. It's the
the
loaded
number.
network.
It's the number of cars going through the intersection. Bottom line,
Correct.
Right. So you've talked about some of the things that your staff, the traffic engineering folks, have done to try and sync up the lights as best they can. And there was some work that was done on the median there, south of Ina on Thornydale. I think there was some work that was done on Erie Drive so that you can no longer turn left out of Erie Drive onto Ina. So are those things that you and your folks did? And if so, what did you do and why?
So those are things that it was actually the development. It was something that was identified as part of the development process, as part of the apartments or the bigger development as a whole. Making those left movements on those roadways is challenging. As you know, Thornydale is a 6-lane in that area. Making that left has always been a very difficult movement. And it was something from the safety perspective, it's a much safer movement to make an indirect left, which means make a right and then go down the road a little bit and make a U-turn. It's not always ideal, not the funnest movement to make for everybody, but it is the safest movement, especially when you're looking at going across that many lanes of traffic. Relatively high speeds, 45 is the speed limit there. Obviously, sometimes people go a little faster, but you have traffic going in both directions, trying to make that maneuver. It's easier to make a right and then go make a left. And we've done, so what we've done is we've actually closed off the open median at Thornydale. So there's now a physical median there. And so there's not an opening. So you physically can't make that movement. You can still turn left into Erie if you're on Thornydale, but it's a right in, right out.
Northbound Thornydale, I want to turn left onto Erie. I can still make that turn.
Yes, you can still make that movement.
But I can't do that thing that I used to do where I would come out Erie and I'd want to go left and go northbound. I can't do that anymore.
No, that's no longer a movement that can be made.
I think that was really smart, man, because you're right. That's a lot of lanes of traffic to get across. Those vehicles are coming pretty quick. And it's not so no plans for a traffic light there. That wouldn't work. It's too close. Is it too close to the intersection?
It's too close to the intersection. Of course, we have a physical barrier with the river to the south with the wash there. So where we would like to place a signal, we can't. That's not where the road's connecting. And unfortunately, yes, it's just too close for on that type of roadway to have a signal in that proximity. So we decided to remove that movement from the equation. So now people have to make a right in or right out. They can still make a left in.
All right. So we're going to have any cops over there, Chief, to kind of keep an eye on that? I mean, that's
one of our areas that we're taking a look at right now, our traffic enforcement unit, as well as some other ones. But we recognize that it's a highly congested area right now, and we have been keeping an eye on that.
Good. So the other thing that I noticed was just last week or maybe the week before, I was in that area driving around looking at some of the projects, and I noticed you can no longer make a left onto Ina from Erie Drive if you're coming out there by the Bisbee Breakfast. So that's fairly new, right?
Correct. That actually happened before we did a little bit before we did the work on Thornydale, but both of them are tied to that development in the area. And that's another situation. Making that left is challenging. I'm sure everybody listening here, that's not a surprise. One thing we did do, or that was required as part of the development, they put in an opening to allow for a U-turn movement a little bit further east. But prior to getting to the Lowe's area where the other existing U-turn is, or turn bay, because obviously there's a commercial area on the north that you can turn into, that was to keep that traffic away from. We already have a lot of traffic and a lot of movements there. So that was to allow people that are leaving Erie onto Ina to make that movement at an area that wasn't as congested.
Okay. So let me ask you from the perspective of a engineer and the public works director and having all the traffic engineers that work for you. Orange Grove opens back up. When that's all said and done, and Ruthroff is now, or not Ruthroff, Sunset. Goes through and connects to River. Is that where it's going to connect?
Yes.
River.
So, yep.
So when those things actually get completed, what does that do to Ina and Thornydale?
So what that does is that obviously changes the circulation pattern of traffic. So all of the traffic that's currently utilizing Ina, because they have no other avenue to utilize, that is going to spread that around. We're probably getting traffic, a little bit further south utilizing INA than typically would once you have an Orange Grove back in the play, once you have a Sunset opened up. So some of the things our traffic group has been doing is not only have they optimized to the best of their ability what we have, we've currently been working on a program with the U of A over several years now, and we're having them look at some of our signal corridor and look at like our existing conditions, but also take a look after we get past the point where we're currently at. Like you mentioned, once the freeways opened up and no longer have the bottlenecks that we currently have, we're going to look at that distribution. We're going to, again, optimize our signals. And then we're going to try to, now that we have what we would consider traffic patterns are more normalized, we would then evaluate the intersections and try to optimize them at what we would consider normal conditions.
Okay. It totally makes sense, right? I mean, if things are drastically different right now because of what's going on in I-10, Orange Grove, I-10, Sunset, we got to let that kind of play out and see how that affects and then come back and evaluate it. Now, there has been some talk, and this is actually one of a number of projects that the town is putting forward for the RTA next, and that is doing some additional work on Ina Road. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Correct. And actually, I know we've talked a little bit about that, but not to take away from this, but we're doing a transportation master plan at the moment, and that's looking at our entire roadway network and trying to figure out what the needs are of the town. And that actually looks at all modes of travel, so not only vehicular, but bicycle, pedestrian, you name it, all modes of travel is part of that. And what you're alluding to is the need for 6 lanes on INA from I-10, or basically all within the town's jurisdiction. So from west and east, but specifically east of INA, or east of I-10, to our jurisdiction limits. That is something
so right
that's been
up to
identified.
the bridge, essentially, right? I mean, that's as far as we go east. So everything from I-10 then going east toward Thornydale, and then past Thornydale to almost Camino de la Tierra, then, right?
Correct.
Is going to be 3 lanes.
Correct. 3 lanes in either direction, so 6 lanes total. And that is a project that's identified in the current RTA initiative, RTA Next. So that is something that the town is looking at doing. Probably a little bit further out, the RTA Next is a 20-year program with 4 or 5-year periods. We're probably thinking more like period 3 or 4 is when it's needed. And our TMP is actually going to help establish when that time frame comes about. But no, we recognize
TMP being Transportation Master Plan. There we go.
Sorry, acronyms.
I know you guys love your acronyms just as much as cops love theirs. So I got to make sure our listeners know what we're talking about. So not a problem. So
appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah. So we can anticipate that, 10, 15 years down the road or so. What additional things would go along with that widening in the 6 lanes? Is there bike paths or anything like that, and landscaping, or what does that look like?
Well, as you know, the INA corridor is going to be challenging. We have quite a bit of existing businesses there, so we're going to do our best to fit that roadway network, our system in there without, try to minimize those impacts. But yes, it would be a typical roadway of what we build in this case, a 6-lane divided roadway with auxiliary bike lanes, pedestrian pathway network, either 2 5-foot plus sidewalks and or potentially a multi-use path on one side. And then, of course, all the other items that come along with that, a raised median, which it currently does have. So that's not something we'd really have to change. But yes, the landscaping, the aesthetic elements as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit, I go down in that area quite a bit because I love Costco. And I love Home Depot and I love Lowe's. And so I spend a lot of time at those stores. And I can attest to the fact that it gets very busy down there. But it sounds like it's just one of those things we're going to have to do. And I feel sorry for those folks that live in that area, and most of them aren't actually Marana residents. They live just outside the town boundaries because of the way that the town annexed that area. But it sounds like there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train coming at us, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnel. They need to understand that it's just a point in time where there's construction activities that are causing traffic to move in circulation patterns that they typically wouldn't, and it's overloading INA at the moment.
Yeah. And you see quite a bit of relief, it sounds like, coming once those interchanges are done and once we're able to do some widening and some bike paths and things of that nature. You feel like that's going to put us in a great position going forward?
Yeah, I think when we get to that point where those improvements are made, that's going to really help. And also with the improvements that we're currently talking about on I-10, Orange Grove is being improved as part of that project. They are doing some bridge improvements. That's going to add a little bit more traffic throughput at that intersection. So that's going to help alleviate that and people utilize that more. Obviously, the Sunset Bridge will help with some of the traffic distribution. So all of that plays into it. But
I think people will be surprised at how much the Sunset Bridge has an impact, and especially the Orange Grove area. I think it'll have a huge impact in that area. So
we think so too. And it just, we continuously look at the traffic. It's just right now, there's not much else we could do to, improve operations out there just with the load of traffic that's currently on the roadway because of the I-10 work.
Very good. All right. Anything else that you can think to add about traffic congestion and just the conditions in that area relative to ease of getting around?
No, I mean, we appreciate your input. We appreciate that you're using these corridors and that you are coming and shopping at our commerce. Just understand that we do continuously evaluate. We are doing the best we can to optimize what we're dealing with, but it's just a challenging time.
Very good.
Dust off your camping gear and spend a night under the stars at Oramaharn District Park starting April 20th through the following morning. Enjoy kid activities, a free movie, educational exhibits, s'mores, and a cowboy sing-along around the campfire. Earn prizes by participating in the tent decoration contest. This year's theme is The Wonder of Flight, brought to you in partnership with Marana Regional Airport. For more information, visit maranaaz.gov/recreation.
The Town of Marana is dedicated to providing 5-star service for all residents, both 2- and 4-legged. Download the Marana Pets app to report a lost pet or upload a photo of a found pet. Start reuniting families today.
Hi, I'm Frank, and I'm a Marana resident. It's time to reactivate your social and fitness lifestyle. The Marana Senior Program offers a variety of services and recreation opportunities for active adults ages 50 plus. Member benefits include access to exercise classes, a fitness center that's really equipped, parties, and much more. Get a 5-day free pass of activities to use within a 30-day span. Visit maranaaz.gov/Teen Senior for more information.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit here and talk a little bit about safety and talk a little bit about crime in that area. What kind of are you guys seeing, Chief, in terms of is there an increase in crime? And one of the things that's talked about here by our again, I keep saying resident, but I'm just going to call this person a resident because they shop in our community. They're as much a resident as anybody else. So this resident is concerned about criminals, vagrants, homeless that are operating in and near the municipal boundaries, and they can kind of do that going back and forth across the boundaries. So how is Marana Police, Pima County Sheriff's Department working together? Are crimes up or are they down in this area? So that's the crux of the first question that she asked.
Yeah. So one of the things, the first thing I'll touch on is that our relationship with the Pima County Sheriff's Department is great. They're a regional partner of ours, and we're very proactive in that area and meeting with our business partners and the managers, and and instilling that confidence in them that if they call us, we're going to respond out there and we're going to take care of a shoplifting call. Now, there's some businesses out there, bigger corporations, where they don't allow their employees to call us to respond to a shoplifting, but there are smaller businesses in the area that do that. The one thing that we instill in our officers here, and Terry, this has been part of our culture for over a decade now, is that we allow our people to go out and track these people down. no matter how small the crime is. So
tell our listeners why that makes a difference for us.
It makes a huge difference. You know, you think about Oro Valley PD, right? You drive through there, you get caught speeding. They've been known for that. You're heavy on writing tickets, right? Same thing with Marana here. You come here, you shoplift, you commit a crime, we're going to track you down. You know, and that's been a part of our culture, and we've gotten a good reputation for that. You know, we've made arrests on people, and they don't realize that area, Ina Thornydale corridor, is Marana. They think it's Tucson. So when we do make an arrest, they're like, "Oh, I thought this was Tucson." No, you're in Marana. So that reputation, it starts to spread.
So tell your friends, don't come and steal stuff in our town.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, you know, we've had some pretty good cases coming out of there from CVS in the past, and we've reached out to TPD, Oro Valley, the Sheriff's Department, working with their community problems units, and we've closed quite a bit of those cases, bigger ones. But we see it. There is sometimes where there are some spikes of shopliftings in the area, and, you know, kudos to our agency. We have bi-weekly meetings, and we have a crime analyst on board who looks at that information based on case reports and even surrounding jurisdictions to figure out what their trends are. And using that information, she'll give us an idea on the areas that we need to focus on. And we're very proactive in taking that approach.
Yeah, you guys really approach the organized retail theft thing very seriously.
Yes, very serious.
And I've noticed, so you talk about Janice Mosier, the crime analyst, and what she does for you guys. And, you know, this isn't uncommon in the law enforcement world to have these link charts with people's pictures and how they're connected with all of these other people relative to, like, you know, robbery rings. Correct. Or burglary rings. Exactly. Or, you know, organized crime. But you guys do it for shoplifters.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And we even go as far as to share that information with the surrounding jurisdiction, because, you know, if they're coming in our jurisdiction, they're going somewhere else and they're doing the same exact thing. So, you know, as far as our relationship with our regional partners, I believe it's unmatched. You know, we all do a phenomenal job, and, you know, they're here to help us, we're here to help them. And like I said, 9 out of 10 times we're tracking these people down, and we're putting handcuffs on them.
That is awesome. And I think that really goes to the heart of what this resident is talking about. They're saying, look, you know, this is right on the jurisdiction of Pima County and Marana on the east side, on the north side, on the south side, right? So got this kind of bubble of Marana, but you got Pima County all around it. And for you to be able to attest to the fact that the relationship is strong, that the communication is good, and that the efforts of law enforcement working together to attack these crime problems it's there, and you're doing it. So,
very much so.
Yeah, correct. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
So outside of shoplifting, and I can certainly see why shoplifting's a problem in that area. Is there other things that we're seeing in that area? She did mention homeless, and that is certainly something that we see, and people we want to help. But what is kind of the approach, and what are you guys seeing with that in the area? Yeah,
so we have seen an increase, and it's very seasonal. So, you know, when the gym show comes into town, we see an influx of homeless coming into the area, and now it's gone back down again. But we have seen some catching the bus, because there's free bus fare on the Suntran, and they end up landing in our area, either the bus stop at Lowe's or the bus stop near El Pollo Loco, which is just east of Ina and Thornydale. You know, there's sometimes that those people are involved in criminal activity, and we do catch them, because, you know, we know either to go to either one of those bus stops, and they're going to be there, and we end up nabbing them, right? So, you know, it's unknown whether those people are coming from unincorporated Pima County, or if they're coming from Tucson. That's unknown. But we do see an influx during the day, and then during the evening it tails off. Something to also keep in mind is that there's some isolated areas that are just outside of our jurisdiction where there are some homeless camps. But, you know, one of the things that we've done internally is we have several officers who are assigned to what we call our urban camping detail. And if we do run into some homeless people in our area, we go out and make contact with them, build a rapport with them, try to get them resources. And there's been a few times where we've actually done that. You know, there's been some homeless vets out here, and they just don't know the resources that exist, but we give them a ride down to the VA and get them help. So
why are you doing that? I mean, isn't that taking valuable resources away from fighting crime to transport people to a VA hospital? I mean, what's the thought process behind that?
Yeah, it all depends. I mean, if we're very busy, we can't go out there and dedicate officers to doing that. But there's times where our call load isn't so heavy, so we encourage our people to go out and make contact with these folks.
That's awesome. I like that. I mean, it's a humanitarian effort,
Exactly.
and caring about people that are down. It's interesting that we're talking about this because just this past Friday, my wife and I were at Lowe's and Home Depot and Costco, and driving out of the Lowe's at the bus stop there, I saw this guy laying on the ground, and he was half over the curb, and one half of his body was on one side of the curb, and his other half of his body was hanging off the other side. And I stopped the car. My wife goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to go see if this guy's okay." He looks like somebody knocked him out cold.
Yeah, right.
And sure enough, he was sleeping one off. But so I would imagine that's, it's not something that would bother you, right? Because you've been in the policing world for a long time. So,
Correct. Yeah.
reaching out to somebody like that and making contact, it didn't bother me. It scared my wife a little bit. Yeah. But I would imagine that for the average resident, that's a little bit disconcerting,
yes.
right? To see that and then not know what to do. So what do you recommend with something like that?
Yeah, I would. Well, somebody who doesn't have a policing background, law enforcement, I would definitely say to give us a call. Let us go over there, make contact with that person, let us handle it, because you don't know what you're going to walk up on and what you're going to get. You may get somebody who is, like you said, they're sleeping off from being intoxicated, or they might be somebody who's taking a nap, and you go and disturb them, and they're irate because they don't know whether you're trying to take some type of resource from them, whether it's a little bit of money that they have on them or something else.
Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah, Mad Dog. Yeah, exactly. Strawberry Hill. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, so yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you give us a call. Let us go over there and deal with it.
So hear that, listeners. Do not do what Terry did. That's the message right there. Don't go make contact with homeless people in the area. Let the police deal with that. Let the paramedics deal with that. And So it sounds like the crime, I guess you will, kind of comes in waves.
Exactly.
Depending, you get a really prolific organized retail theft group. They can wreak havoc in an area.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, and multiple businesses here in Southern Arizona.
Yeah.
It's not just the ones that exist in Marana, but it's Tucson, Oro Valley. And like I said, there's one of those things where you need to get ahead of that, and you need to stay on them, and you need to track them down and get them.
So this area that we're talking about is one of our districts. What district is that?
That's in District 3.
District 3.
Yes.
And it's a pretty small area geographically, District 3. But talk a little bit about how you staff that area to ensure that it stays safe.
Yeah, so one of the things, obviously, our sergeants, we recognize the congestion that we're dealing with down there, and they're really smart in the way they deploy their resources. So anything that's pretty much on the east side of the interstate in this area that we're talking about, they'll put 3 to 4 officers in that particular area, depending on our staffing and our call load. So they definitely make sure that they stack that area, so that way if we do have these shoplifters and they're running away from a business, or they're getting in a vehicle and they're trying to get away, that it's adequately staffed, and that way we can take care of them. And also some other crimes that may happen in the area as well. The best deterrent for us is to be out there and be visible.
Yeah.
So that really prevents a lot of crimes. And you'll see, some guys are just going up from the corridor on Ina, and they go down to Old Father and just making U-turns, going back and forth, waiting for something to happen. But, that in itself, I mean, it's twofold. If you have somebody that's in the area thinking about committing a crime, if they see an officer, they're not going to, most likely, they may rethink it. But then, you have some people who may try to speed in the area or committing traffic violations. They're rethinking that decision as well. So,
yeah. Now, you guys had a officer-involved shooting in that area not too long ago, a month or so ago.
Yeah, February 10th.
February 10th. There you go. Those dates stick in your mind when you're a police chief, don't they?
Yes, they
don't
do.
They, Chief?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, they do.
So, and there was one roughly almost 5 years ago now, about 4.5 years ago now, that we had over by the Dickies, and then we had this one that you talked about on February 10th. Is there a need for people to be worried? I mean, is it, safe to shop and be in that area?
Yeah, it's very safe. I mean, those incidents are one-offs. We don't have them very often. I think the Dickey shooting that happened in 2020, and here we are 4 years later, and we have them. But, things like that don't happen often in Marana at all. So I would say it's more than safe to be down there.
Yeah. And I think probably in the last 10 years, those are the only two shootings that I can think of, even in the last 14 years. So I want to get back. I'm going to jump back over here to Fausto for just a minute because something I think I didn't cover in this whole thing about traffic is developers are building some apartment complexes over there. Pretty big apartment complexes.
Yeah, pretty big apartment complexes. I just want to let you know, Chief, we're doing what we can to help with the traffic calming and, slowing down the traffic over there. Yeah. Congestion does that. So
it does. It works out.
We're slowing the getaway cars. So.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. See, they're doing their part.
It's really tough to get away if you're fleeing from Ina and Thornydale, man.
See, that's another
traffic jam.
That's another regional partner for us.
Yeah, you guys are working together. I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Our traffic teams do work together hand in hand quite
appreciate
a bit.
It.
Well played, Fausto. Well played. So with all of these additional residents going in there, and I want to say there's roughly between the two about, I think one has around 250 and the other has around 350. So you're looking at around 600 apartments. And so at least they figure 1.7. So let's round that up to 2. Another 1,200 people in that area coming and going. So how do you see that kind of affecting the area?
So as part of it, when a development comes in, they do their upfront due diligence. They provide a traffic analysis. We call it a traffic impact analysis or a traffic study. And they do look at their impacts and they're saying, hey, we're going to build this here and we're going to add X amount of traffic to the area. And what's that going to do? The improvements we talked about earlier, the safety improvements, eliminating those left turns, that came about from those traffic analysis. It identified that those weren't safe movements. As I mentioned, they're already tough to do now, but when we add that traffic, as we look forward, that's definitely a movement we wanted to take out of the equation. So as part of it, depending on size of the development, they do look at anywhere from a mile out or just a given distance. So they're looking at the existing signals and they're looking at and seeing what their impacts are. So the area in question that you're asking about has been evaluated. These improvements that have been placed are part of that analysis. Honestly, not looking at the conditions we're in right now, those roadways can absorb that traffic. Apartments do bring quite a lot of people. However, they traditionally don't bring as much traffic loads as you would see like a single family house. There's usually not 2 cars per that apartment or those type of things, or they utilize public transit more. Those are the type of things that the analysis shows, or, there is a certain amount of traffic identified for apartments and for the units assigned to those, just like there is for single family homes. So that is all part of the analysis that's performed.
And if they need to go to the Target, they can just walk there.
Correct. You also, there is something that's called, it's funny you say that, but you do have, it's called internal capture. Just saying if project, how much of the people are not going to leave a certain area or day in and day out. And on average, you do have some of those when you have developments within a certain proximity to commercial. Or if you have a large master plan development that has a lot of residential but also has a lot of commercial, they can say, hey, we do have X amount of our traffic is going to stay internal because of all these other uses. So those are type of things that do realistically happen. And again, as you mentioned, there's Lowe's across the street. They might need a car if they're going to pick up something, but
they can walk to Chick-fil-A.
They can walk to Chick-fil-A. They can go to Dickies. So yes, there's a lot within walking distance.
Yeah, we've talked about building a bridge from where those apartments are going in, a walking bridge that goes across the river, so that people can walk over to the Costco and stuff over there too. I think that would be pretty cool. What do you think?
I have not been part of those discussions.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that's because it's just a discussion I had with myself. When I say we, I mean me.
that would be pretty cool. I don't know how we would fund that, Terry, but
I don't either. And actually, it wasn't just me, it was the mayor too. So it was actually his idea, if I'm being completely honest. And I thought it was a pretty cool idea. But you're right, it is a funding thing. So, all right. So I'm going to jump back over here to Chief and talk a little bit more about panhandlers. And that happens in the area. It happens all over the place, right? In some areas of communities, it's pretty prolific. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's all that prolific in our community, but I do know I see it from time to time down in the Ina Thornydale area. And certainly people have the right, and freedom of speech gives you the ability to ask somebody, hey, you got $1 for me or whatever.
Yeah.
But this specific resident is asking, they've seen over in Pima County that they've got signs posted there asking people not to give money to people who are panhandling.
Yeah.
I have not even talked to the county about when they did that, why they did that, if it's helping, what that's doing. What are your thoughts on that, Chief?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the signs. Those, to my knowledge, I know they've been up for at least 2 years.
Okay.
And I've seen one at River, and I believe it was La Cholla in that area. And, my thoughts on that is that, panhandling and private property, let's use Lowe's for an example, because we're talking about that area, Ina and Thornydale corridor. There's not much that we can do about that because it's open to the public, and they have the right to be there. But when we talk about the medians, definitely that's a dangerous spot for those people to stand on, with the influx of traffic and the congestion. And, 20 years ago, we used to have the paper hawkers there at Ina and Thornydale.
Absolutely.
But now our population has doubled. And you think about the amount of traffic that goes through that corridor as well, because it's pretty busy. Ina and Thornydale and Orange Grove and Thornydale are probably the two busiest intersections in the town of Marana.
yeah,
So,
Chief, you're right. And for those that don't know, Paper Hawkers, it was actually a newspaper.
yeah.
That,
What is
people
that?
used to read.
Yeah.
I know there's several out there listening to this that probably have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I just aged myself.
Newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper. What? Yeah, but those were people who would stand in the medians and they would sell newspapers to people that were driving on the roadway.
So you still see that though. I mean, I see, I don't see it here.
It's not here. Yeah,
I see it in the city of Tucson. So why aren't we seeing it here? What are you guys doing to prevent that?
So a lot of them they just left the area.
Okay.
I'm assuming they weren't getting enough money off of people buying the newspapers from them. And we do have some panhandlers that try to go out in the medians. We make contact with them because they're actually stepping into the street, which they can't do that.
Right.
So that in itself creates a hazard not only for them but also for the drivers as well. But I know that the Pima County, the signs that they have posted there, I think there's some resources that are tied to that as well. And so they do encourage people to contact. I think there's a number, and I can't remember the name of the service that they provide. But I'm all for that. You can't prevent people from doing it, but if you can offer them a resource and a number to contact to help these folks, I'm certainly all for that. I think that would be good.
So maybe some signs. I happen to know a guy who has some people that make signs.
Yeah.
We do have some people that make signs. Well, we have guys that know guys, though.
Yeah, okay.
We know guys who know guys.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else, gentlemen, that you can think that we should cover about Ina, Thornydale, Orange Grove, Thornydale area?
I don't think I think of.
Okay.
I think we covered most.
There's a couple of things on here that aren't specifically related to either one of you, more development stuff. The bus stop in the Lowe's parking lot, essentially. Anything that's going to be done to make it better, safer, cleaner, to encourage residents to use public transportation. And it even says here, might have to work with City of Tucson on this one. And that's exactly right. The public transportation is all done through the City of Tucson, through Suntran. And so that's something that, we can certainly talk to them about. I think Lisa, who is our Community Neighborhood Services Director, Lisa Schaefer, reached out to them, asked them about cleaning it up, painting it, making it look a little bit nicer. So that is something that could be done there, and I think is underway. And then what are future plans and expectations for Ina Thornydale area of Marana with the empty commercial spaces, the old Big Lots, the Bookmans, et cetera. Right now, there are no specific entities or organizations, businesses that are looking to go into any of those. That is 100% up to the people that own the properties, and the town really doesn't have much input into that. I'm sure that people would love to see more restaurants or, something go into those that I think even said on here, something other than a car wash. So, yeah, we've heard that one loud and clear. No car washes and no public store, or what are they called? Self-storage units. But I'm sure that, the realtors and the folks that own those properties are working to get those spaces filled, because they are fairly large spaces. But at this point, we don't have anything that is on the horizon that they've come to us with in terms of business licenses or TIs, tenant improvements. So that kind of, I think, wraps up the questions and the comments from this resident. I hope we got to all the things that were of interest, and for those people that live in that area, we love you. We appreciate you. Glad that you, although you're not actual Marana residents in terms of living within the town, we consider you our residents, and we want to be here for you to do the work that needs to be done to make your life better. So that's what we do, and we'll continue to do that for that area as well. So, gentlemen, anything you want to say in closing to our listeners?
I share the same, echo the same statement that Terry just said right now. Just be rest assured that the Marana Police Department will be out there doing our part to make it a safe environment for you to shop and visit, and hopefully you continue to come to Town of Marana.
Yeah, and I echo those sentiments. We're looking at the roadway for all users and all who travel on our roads. So we are constantly trying to improve, optimize, and ensure safe roadways for everyone.
Very good. Well, Fausto, thank you. Chief, thank you both for being here with us again. Really appreciate your insights and for coming along and answering all these tough questions. Really do appreciate that. And listeners, thanks for joining us. Please be sure to send us your questions. We greatly appreciate those as well. Until next time.
Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk, and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please follow the town on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.